So my parents were both depression kids. They were raised by struggling immigrants, and they spent their whole lives pretty sure the next Great Depression was right around the corner. And as a consequence, they were really relieved when I got into Northwestern, because to them that meant I might have a secure future. What I didn't exactly tell my parents at the time was I planned to be a theater major. Anyway, here's my story. As a freshman, I arrived at Northwestern with $600. I thought that was a lot of money, and then I bought textbooks and a pizza, and then I was broke for the rest of the year. So you can imagine how lucky I felt when, during spring quarter, I saw a flyer in the student union that said, "Summer work, earn up to $15,000, see the country, asterisk," and then below there was an asterisk and some tiny words that said something like, "Potential earnings for top producers, actual earnings may be significantly less," but I didn't look at the little words because I wanted $15,000.
Very good.
So I called the number and reached a fellow student, Rod, who said, "Peter, can I ask you a question, Peter?" I learned later from Rod that people love their own names, so you should use their names as often as possible. "Peter, if you had an opportunity, Peter, to make more money than you ever thought possible, Peter, is that something you could get excited about, Peter?" I explained to Rod that I wasn't really an excitable type. And he seemed disappointed, so I said for me I was excited. The job interview was in the basement of the Sigma Chi house. Maybe I'll raise this up a little bit. Rod wrote numbers on a flip chart to show me how I'd soon be rich. I asked what I'd actually be doing to get rich, and he explained that I'd be selling dictionaries door to door in Coon Rapids, Minnesota, a place I'd never been, so that was exciting. But I did have one concern. "Rod, does that mean I'm guaranteed, Rod, to make the $15,000, Rod?" Rod explained to me that there were no guarantees, because if I did the kind of job he thought I was capable of, it would be unfair of him to limit me to just $15,000. I was impressed. I was worried, though, about how my parents might react, but Rod helped me there, too. He said, the right words matter. He said, don't tell them I was going to sell books door to door in Coon Rapids. And he said, actually hand me the phone. And he congratulated my parents and told them I'd been selected for a paid internship in an elite level marketing and management training program, which would relocate me to the Twin Cities. And they were very happy. Rod had talent. So 3 weeks later, I'm in Coon Rapids, ready to earn my $15,000. Rod told me, quote, sell more, spend less. That was really important, that I leave with a lot of money, so I not spend a lot. So I paid a Mormon family $10 a week, and they let me sleep in their attic. Another way that I spent less was getting people to feed me while I was selling books. Just before I'd leave the house, I would say, Miss Jones, would you be willing to sell me a couple of pieces of bread? I've got some peanut butter in my pocket and I'm really hungry. And then I'd take a baggie out of my pocket with a little blob of peanut butter. And then I would shut my mouth. I learned from Rod that closers know when to stop talking. And in situations like this, the first one to crack loses. And as predicted, Miss Jones could only take so much awkward silence before she broke down and fed me. Awkward silence soon became my go-to tactic, not just for getting fed, but also for selling books. And before long, I was selling a lot of dictionaries. I didn't have a car, so I'd walk door to door, taking orders. But at the end of the summer, I'd need a car to make my deliveries. So I was pretty excited when I saw a sign on a car that said 1969 AMC Rebel, no reverse, $125. My first thought, of course, was, who needs reverse, right? I was going to win forwards, not backwards. So I bought the car. The Rebel burned oil, which was fine, I thought, because I found a way to add oil to the car, which was actually not fine because it turns out I was adding oil to the transmission. Which meant before long, my no reverse transmission was not a whole lot of forward movement either transmission. I'd floor the gas, the engine would rev like it was going 80, but the transmission would slip and the car would top off at about 12 miles an hour. When I drove up a hill, recreational cyclists and power walkers would pass me by. My slow car made delivery days extremely long, and I was exhausted. Unless I changed course, I was in grave danger of running very slowly into something. One night, I was making deliveries in a rural area, and my county map showed a shortcut on an unpaved road. I should mention that my car had weak springs and worn-out shocks, and with all the books in the trunk, it was essentially a lowrider. On that particular night, I learned that lowriders are not made for poorly maintained dirt roads when a combination of ruts and rocks banged the muffler right out from under my car. Some would see this as a setback. To me, it was a positive. It turns out a muffler is called a muffler because it muffles. But my car was now unmuffled, which meant even though it could only travel at a walking pace, it sounded fast. Plus, the loud, throaty engine noise was keeping me awake for a while. I was at a stop sign when a Blaine County Sheriff's deputy woke me up. He asked me why I was asleep at an intersection with a map sandwiched between my face and the steering wheel, and told me people were complaining about my loud car. So I told him about the slipping transmission and my long days in a car that had a top speed I could jog faster than, and how the road had demufflered my car, and I didn't even remember falling asleep because who remembers falling asleep, right, deputy? To which he said something about me being a, quote, danger to myself and others, and he asked me to follow him. 20 minutes later, he led me into his father's junkyard. My first thought was, he's going to fix my muffler and transmission. Amazing. He didn't do either of those things. But in hindsight, he did something much better. Instead of fixing my car, the deputy took my license and said he'd bring it back in the morning. Then he locked me in the junkyard so he could sleep, knowing that I would not kill myself or others. Was that legal? Probably not. But it was the right thing to do, and that one moment perfectly illustrated the difference between youthful stupidity and adult common sense. So what did I learn from my youthful stupidity? At first glance, seemingly not much. Every summer I kept selling books and buying crap cars that cost less than the stereos I bought from the back of someone's van to put in them. But if I dig deeper, I was accidentally gaining skills that would serve me well in my long career as a character actor. When I first moved to LA, I was driving my 1982 Toyota Corolla with the check engine light flashing to an audition for the role of Rule Number 3 on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I read for that part. Then I shut my mouth and stood there in the casting office, awkwardly silent, just like I'd done a million times as a book salesman. The first one to speak loses. I'm happy to say I booked that role, and my awkward silence and I have been working ever since. The end?